Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's topic, Pokemon singles. Believe it or not, we're shifting away from sealed and we're going to put our Pokemon investing lens onto singles, and in particular, gem rate. That's a term that gets thrown around quite loosely in the Pokemon investing space, and I want to delve into exactly what it is, and I'm not trying to insult anyone's intelligence because I know a lot of you guys and girls watching this, of course, know what it is, but let's delve into exactly what it is, how it's been impacting some sales recently, and then what it can mean for us moving forward when it comes to investing in singles and of course graded cards. So let's start off with the blaringly obvious gem rate. What does it mean? Most people refer it to PSA. So what it essentially means is however many copies of a card get sent in to get graded to a particular grading place, and like I said, I'm going to use the term or the company PSA, how many of those return a 10? So the best possible result you could get. And the best way or easiest example to look at this is if someone sent 200 copies of a particular card, let's work off some modern single that's just come out, 200 copies get sent into PSA and 20 of those copies return as a PSA 10. In the early stages, you would say that particular card has a 10% gem rate. What that means is 10% of all copies that are getting sent in return as a 10. Now, that scale can be massively influenced. And what I mean by that is you can have certain singles that return or have a super low gem rate, as in some have like a 1, 2, 3% return rate as a PSA 10, meaning a couple of things. Very difficult to grade, as in the type of card it is. B, could just be old and vintage and not many mint copies getting pulled out of booster packs make it on the market anymore. C, it could be all to do with print quality, as in the print quality during that time, during that set, during when that hit came out, that card came out that everyone's trying to grade, was just really bad print quality. Or 4, the skeptics out there will say a lot of low pop vintage cards are being protected by grading companies like PSA, and that they're not really handing out many more 10s because they want to protect those populations of those cards. Now, with all that in mind, there are also some cards on the other end of the scale that have ridiculously easy gem rates. Now, quite typically, Japanese cards have higher gem rates because print quality is a lot better than its English counterparts, and even modern English cards, particularly during the Sword and Shield era, had quite high gem rates. Like if we look at a lot of the hits from Sword and Shield era, I'm talking Umbreon VMAX from Evolving Skies, Gengar VMAX from Fusion Strike, Giratina from Lost Origin. A lot of those cards are well north, or in some cases north of 60% in terms of a gem rate return. Now, of course, look, a lot of them are getting pulled straight from booster packs. A lot of them are going straight into penny sleeves and then top loaders. A lot of people are picking the eyes out of them to make sure that they're actually sending something off that has every chance of receiving a 10. There's even tools and devices you can use to check that now. And with all that in play, this massive scale, what we've seen lately is some very expensive sales of some cards that maybe don't or haven't seen those sort of numbers in the past. And the one that probably springs straight to my mind is the Greninja Gold Star from Celebrations Elite Trainer Box. Now, in case you're not aware, a lot of people are touting this as the last Gold Star we've seen. Of course, Gold Stars came out in the EX era. They were extremely popular. You could get them from some main sets and also some Pop Series packs. And this Greninja is a new take on an old twist. And the gem rate on this card is like 7%. And keep in mind, it was in absolutely every single Elite Trainer box from Celebrations Elite Trainer box. Every single one had one inside it. It was crazy how many there were. And the fact that it's going for well north of $1,000 is crazy as a PSA 10. And what this means is, because of that massive difference between the amount getting graded and the amount that are returning as Gem 10s, you get a bigger multiplier effect. And here's the important thing to touch on when it comes to singles and maybe leading us into some investment strategies, is that the bigger the difference between a card's gem rate is going to be the bigger difference between its raw price and its PSA 10 price. So if you look at like a lot of modern cards, so let's take Umbreon VMAX from Evolving Skies that I mentioned. Its raw price versus its PSA 10 price, yes, you're getting a multiplier effect. Of course, a PSA 10 is worth more than a raw card, but not heaps more. It's because it has like a 60% plus gem rate. Compare that to, and this is an outlandish example, but compare that to a first edition base set Charizard, and of course there's so many different conditions of this card on the market, but let's say a fair or a good condition card might be worth, several thousand or pushing 5,000 US dollars. Whereas, of course, some of the sales we've seen recently of first edition PSA 10 copies, because of that extremely low population, the difference between them, it could be worth 20 times more in these circumstances, like Gold Star Rayquazas or any of those other Gold Stars with super low pops. Recently, we saw a Rayquaza from Black and White's Dragons Exalted sell for north of 20,000 US dollars in a PSA 10, and there's only like 30 copies of that card. A lot of XY era cards that have super low pops that might be worth 300 or 400 US dollars raw, given low populations of PSA 10s, maybe in the 60s or 70s, are going for $5,000 to $10,000 in those PSA 10 copies. So what I'm getting at is, the harder the card is to gem, so the harder it is to receive a PSA 10 or a 10 from another grading company, it doesn't just have to be PSA, then the bigger the difference between the raw price and the PSA 10 price. And of course, I'm not trying to insult anyone's intelligence, like I said, that's just a little background behind it. Now, with all that in play and all those crazy cards that have been going for insane prices, I mentioned about the Greninja Gold Star, I touched on that Dragons Exalted Rayquaza. There's also, of course, been some insane sales lately from Gold Stars. We've seen, full collections of Gold Stars go for north of $1 million US dollars. We've seen the Torchic from EX Team Rocket Returns go for north of $100,000. We've seen base set Charizard. We've seen a lot of Neo cards, even first edition Neo cards. Like I think recently a Heracross went for insane dollars. So what it's showing is that there are collectors that really, really value low pop PSA 10 cards. And at the moment, what we're getting in the modern world is nothing's really low pop anymore, is it? And before I touch on the modern world and what we could possibly invest in, I, of course, just wanted to give a shout out to today's video sponsor, which is Collector. If you don't have the app, there'll be a link in the description to download it. You can follow my journey down in the content creators section. So many good improvements to this. You can click on set analytics to check out total set value of any set, English or Japanese. There's trade sections under the market information tab now. You can see, a lot of people ask about that. Is this a good trade? Should I trade this for that? You can put them in and it'll show the values to see if it's a fair trade for you or not. You can check out what cards or sealed product have made market moves for you in the last day. And if you sign up to become a pro user, there is awesome benefits in there. You can see lots and lots of data. You can update the skin in the app to make it look really cool. There's giveaways each month. So again, link in the description to download that one. Now on to modern. We don't have many low PSA 10 populations in modern. There's so many examples like Umbreon VMAX, which I've already talked about from Evolving Skies, is nudging to 20,000 copies. The Lugia V from Silver Tempest is over 20,000 copies. So the new norm seems to be like, if it's a popular card and lots of people want to grade it, like it's not abnormal for something to get 20,000 copies. Now, a lot of Scarlet and Violet cards, however, they do have quite low gem rates. We've seen it in Paldea Evolved with the Magikarp, which is sitting in the early 20%, as in, for every 10,000 cards that get sent in, only 2,000 odd are receiving a PSA 10, so we do have a very low population for modern standards for that Magikarp. We're also even seeing it in prismatic evolutions. Take the Sunbreon, as people colloquially call it. That has quite a low gem rate in comparison to the Umbreon VMAX from Evolving Skies. And it'll actually be really interesting to see how those two cards play out. Because if Umbreon VMAX versus Umbreon EX from Prismatic Evolutions, if the Umbreon EX, look, it's going to keep going on. People are going to keep ripping packs. Like there's so much prismatic on the market. There's still so much prismatic sealed. There's still a lot of Evolving Skies sealed. But as time goes by and both get ripped, and let's say we fast forward 5 years and there's 10,000 copies of Umbreon EX from Prismatic Evolution graded a PSA 10, and there's 22,000 or 23,000 copies of Umbreon VMAX from Evolving Skies. Which one's going to be worth more in a PSA 10? Everyone touts the Evolving Skies Umbreon as the most iconic card, but will the lower population of the Umbreon EX from Prismatic Evolutions give it that price increase over the Evolving Skies Moonbreon? It's going to be really interesting to see. Now, the other thing that's going to be really interesting is how a lot of these new gold cards, these new gold hyper rares from Mega Evolution, because these are tough to pull, not like so hard to pull. We haven't seen pull rates this tough since a lot of those alternate arts from Sword and Shield era. Like, we're talking in a lot of cases, 1 in 1,500 packs or 1 in 1,000 packs. Very, very tough pull rates. And it's going to be interesting to see how these gem, because quite often gold cards with the texture, and they are a little bit harder to gem into 10. So this could be really interesting for modern era cards. Like, if these are very hard to pull and have very low gem rates, we could see some very expensive PSA 10 cards, even though they might not be the world's most sought after cards. Now, on sought after cards and low gem rates, another modern example is that Charmander from Obsidian Flames, particularly the Pokemon Center one. That has a very tough gem rate, and that is worth a lot as a PSA 10, as what we'd call like, a base set card really in Charmander. Crazy, isn't it? Now, with all that in mind, what does that mean from investing in singles? What quite often happens is, when we start seeing auctions of singles go for very high prices, like I'm talking that Greninja Gold Star from 25th anniversary ETB, is we can quite often see the raw card price come up like in comparison with it, as it rightly should. I mean, if something's worth a lot as a PSA 10, there's going to be people that want to buy it raw for the opportunity to make that grading play. And that is a big play for a lot of people. That is an investment opportunity for people, is in you buy out 50 Greninja Gold Stars, send all 50 off. The exercise might have cost you X amount of dollars, and your aim is, of course, to score at least a couple of 10s, cover your cost, and everything else is just cream on the top. Like that, when we talk about investing, it's not just... when we talk about making money out of the Pokemon TCG, it's not all about just putting sealed products away or putting sealed singles away or slabs away and letting them appreciate in price. There's plenty of ways that people make a crust out of this hobby. And of course, some of them are not very ethical, in my opinion, like, scalping products so no one else can get them and just reselling them for more money on the secondary market. That's not very fair to the whole hobby or the whole community. But if you want to make the risk or take the risk of the grading play, I think that's more power to you. I don't think that's doing any harm to anyone. That is one way that people do make money out of this hobby. So when we talk about investing, like I was saying, it's not just about putting things away. There are plays to be made in other areas. So you've always got to, I guess, keep your finger on the pulse with what might be the best or the next best thing. And I think overall, when we look back at the Scarlet and Violet era, I think some of these lower population PSA 10s will be good investments. I think that Magikarp from Paldea Evolved, now that Paldea Evolved is about to go out of rotation, it's also seen a drastic dip recently in the last couple of months. Like, if I were to suggest any card that might be a good pickup as a raw card, I think that Magikarp would be a good pickup. If you can get, freshly pulled mint copies of that card, buying at the dip, I think that's a good play. And also keep an eye out for other cards like that have a tough gem mint, a gem 10 rate, and have maybe been hurt a little bit by the dip in November and December and now represent good value to pick up. So different ways, bit of a different video today. Thanks everyone so much for tuning in. I hope that opened your eyes a little bit to the gem rate and how it can impact some grading plays when it comes to the Pokemon TCG, and also some investments when it comes to just investing in some singles. I'll catch everyone next time.